gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to Dinner and a Game. Specifically, welcome to Dinner Conversations. We thank you all for showing up tonight. We are hopefully going to have a wonderful show for you where we talk about different subjects and end up yelling at each other and screaming incoherently, just like last time. So,
Nope,
I,
just
I
Cassie.
didn't. What?
What?
No,
Stop
no,
yelling
so,
at me!
so
not me.
tonight's conversation is going to be about a subject that has torn the gaming community apart, as it were. Not really, but it has caused some people to get upset and some people to start arguing, and basically the usual people yelling at each other. Which, hey, it is exactly what you think it would be. So, we have with us tonight a panel of our illustrious compatriots and a guest. We have myself, Ray Smith. Hi, how you doing? GM of 30 plus years, and I love to tell people that because it's the only thing I've really done with my life. My beautiful wife
His
Jessica, who
claim to
probably
fame.
either sneezed or is blowing her nose and ran away to hide.
Bloody nose, sorry.
Oh, bloody nose. I'm sorry.
It keeps
I
happening.
mean, if I quit hitting you in the face, maybe it'll stop, but that's just not going to happen. So, and then we have Kessie, our wonderful Kessie, who is going to get into lots of fights with our other regular compatriot, Josh, because, that's just the way they are. Oil and
Oh,
water. And then our
It
guest star in
it's
the
all
center
out of
circle,
it's all comes from a place of love, maybe, kind of.
love and slash tires, ladies and gentlemen. They go together hand in hand. Just ask your ex, she'll tell you. Uh, and then our guest is Phil. Phil is actually one of
Philip.
our friends in real life. He is part of our Texas Critical Role fan club, and he
that's
basically
right,
is.
folks. We have friends in real life.
Yes, we actually have friends. We don't just hang out on the internet and pretend that we're real people. We actually have friends.
Yeah,
Um,
he's even been to my house and things.
yeah.
Pay the
Like,
$20 later.
yeah,
So,
No,
definitely.
it was.
and tonight's topic is we are going to be discussing one of the, like I said, newer. Well, it's a new change, but it's a controversial change for a lot of people, and that is the fact that Wizards of the Coast has changed. Um, it's not the ideology, but the core representation of some of the NPCs in their world. And this has led to a lot of people who really enjoy the established world as it is to get very upset because it changes the aspects of storytelling in Wizards of the Coast's primary world of Forgotten Realms. In Forgotten Realms, and Forgotten Realms is their probably the second oldest world next to Greyhawk, which is no longer really supported. Forgotten Realms is a world that is about almost 40 years old. It's got a ton of lore, over 300 novels, and it's basically got a lot of history behind it. And that history is established on a couple of key points that are represented in the game itself, and that is that there are races in the world that are inherently evil. Now, what we mean by inherently evil is when they are born, these creatures are actively evil in nature. They do not have a choice to become evil. They do not have a cultural influence that makes them go in the direction of performing evil acts to survive. They have actual evil intent from birth. And they
We call
cannot.
them kitties.
We call them kitties. We no, but they have actual evil intent from birth, and those races are. There's several races like that. There is the orcs, the goblins, and that includes like all the sub races of orc and goblin, hobgoblins, or gods, whatever. But these races are born evil. Okay. There is another race that is evil, but it's one of those races that's more evil by influence, and that's the Drow. But there's a lot of other races. The Sagwin. Who else can think of some other ones?
uh,
Um,
We
I
already did.
mean, I guess so is it just races in general, or does it count like Ifriti and stuff like that?
Afridi are technically a race, even though they're magical
Okay.
creatures. They have a lifespan. They have stuff like that, and they're technically a race. They're just not from this dimension. And I don't know if we can count things that are not Terrarian in origin, not from the prime material plane, because if they come from a place outside of that, then who knows what the hell they are. You know what I mean? Or what they're basically. I'm talking about creatures that are born in that world and are basically inherent in evil. Like I said, the Kotoa, the Sawan, those two races are just always been portrayed as inherently evil. So the basic nature of the change that has happened is that Wizards has said that they will no longer be publishing any materials that have races listed as inherently evil. Now, culturally, they may be considered evil because they basically have practices within their culture that reward the evil behaviors of other creatures, or creatures uh, within their own communities. So like the whole aspects of might makes right is also another huge one too, because that is a human characteristic, but it's also basically pretty much a well understood characteristic. So what we're going to discuss tonight is what those changes mean to GMs, what those changes mean to players, and how those changes have actually affected pretty much the extent of the gaming community, both old and new players. Okay, so I guess we should start off by going over what those changes actually are, because there's more than just the racial changes too. But the nature of the changes are, in fact, let me pull that up real fast. I was just thinking about that. I should have pulled that up ahead of time. So, Philip, you are the guest. What are your general thoughts on, for the most part, on the actual changes that Wizards of Coast has made?
I personally think it's a great idea. Per your criteria, changes to DMs. I think it's going to make DMs be challenged more to create an in-depth villain or a big bad or even just opposition for the characters to fight. It's no longer just like, hey, he's an orc, so he's evil, so you have to fight him. It's now you have to go in and give life to this character and actually make him evil. What is his intent? What makes him evil? So it's going to put a challenge on GMs and DMs to be able to do that, to flesh out a character that the players want to fight.
Mm-hmm.
For players, I mean, I think it opens it up a lot more. Orc is probably my favorite class, or sorry, race.
Mm-hmm.
And I've played multiple orc characters, and which is why I say it's probably my favorite race, because I keep going back to it. I've played an orc artificer named Steve Orkle in a city of orcs. He was the nerd, and he was the outcast because he wasn't evil. I've played orc paladin, who is more on the neutral side.
Of
And
what?
so, of the alignment chart, he was chaotic neutral.
Oh, okay.
Well, paladins no longer have to be a
Yeah.
god.
Good
right.
point.
Yep. Or
He
lawful
was
good.
he
Yeah, or
was
lawful
oath of vengeance, and so that's his whole thing. He was going after vengeance.
Yeah, he literally took an oath, and that gave him paladin powers.
Yes. No, there's no god. I played him chaotic neutral because that's just how I wanted to play him. He would do whatever it took to accomplish his goal.
Except
so very
break his
chaotic.
oath.
Yeah, of course, except for break the oath. So now you have these characters that can, I guess, go against the old norms of, evil and good, I guess. So you could make a good drow,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're still gonna deal with the disadvantage to perception in the sunlight, but if you
And
wanted to make
you're
a
still
good
gonna-
drow,
Yeah, one of the things that they've said directly, and this is one of the things that they basically in their press release said, is that they acknowledge the existence of racist stereotypes in its source books, and they're pledging to make changes to I can't even pronounce this word, ameliorate the issue. And basically, what they're trying to say is they're acknowledging that they had these issues in the past. They're going to move forward with trying to correct those issues and make them not as impactful on the current game and the game moving forward. But they're also going back, and this is something that probably has the community the most upset. They're going back and they're going to make changes to the original source material, or in some cases completely remove that source material from publication. And this includes sets like Kartor, which was a themed world that was set completely in an Asian-based culture, and all the gods were based off of Asian functions and Asian religions. They were based off of, but not directly taken from. So, like, as since I don't know much about the Asian culture and that but I'll use Greek. So, like, instead of having the head god of one pantheon being called Zeus, he would have a different name, but all the same powers and abilities. So that's what they did with that, and of course that they basically is completely reeks of cultural appropriation. So that's why they're addressing that. Um, and that's one of the things I think that has the actual community, especially the players who were from the old school, so upset because on one hand, we understand what Wizards of the Coast is attempting to do. On the other hand, there are players who grew up with those systems, played in those systems. Some of them even desperately love those systems, worlds, I should say. And they basically are being told that what they loved was not only wrong, but may be considered insensitive and cruel. And that can hit people in a place that makes them very defensive. And so we've gotten a lot of there was bomb threats called into Wizards. There were death threats made.
Wow.
You didn't know that, Cassie?
No, I did not know
Yeah,
that part
no.
at all.
Yeah, the Wizards offices had to be evacuated several times for legitimately called in bomb threats. Like these,
That's
so this was like
insanity.
yeah, this was like real situations that got out of hand. Um, so, but that's like the big issue with this is that I wanted to point out in that regard is there are people out there my age or older or a little bit younger who grew up playing these games and then were completely ostracized for being part of these games and these worlds. And so the only thing they end up having was these games and the few friends they had who played these games with them and went through the same process. And now it's like 20, 30 years later for them, and they're being told that the thing that they literally gave up a part of their social identity for is bad and wrong. And
And so,
yeah, go ahead.
sorry, I was just gonna say because like so that's the part that gets me like I don't. It's not that the whole thing was bad or wrong. It's just that one part of it just wasn't as great as it could have been, and now they're trying to go back and fix it and make it better. And I just don't understand why people, first of all, can't see that, or second of all, like get so worked up over it. It's like they're literally just trying to make it better and a more inclusive game to everyone.
It's a change.
I mean, it's a change, but it's not changing everything.
Well,
it is
yeah,
literally like.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to
No,
cut
go
you off.
ahead.
Continue.
No,
Oh,
go
well,
ahead.
I was just gonna say it's one of those things where like Ray was saying, they chose this over social life, which let's be honest here, it was probably heading that way anyways. It just happened to find people who
don't
enjoyed.
Judge, Josh.
I know you're right. Anyways, so it's one of those things where it comes from the creators and then it's given to the people, and then the people are like, okay, fantastic. This is mine. I'm doing my own thing with it. And then when they come back and say, hey, actually, this is it's cultural appropriation. This is, kind of racist. And they're like, no, what? No, impossible. Like this is my baby. Like, don't you say that about my baby? Or it I don't know. It all comes with just the refusing to acknowledge that this thing that they love so much could be flawed.
Yes.
And their refusal to change it, not because they do or do not think it is flawed, but because it's just this is my baby, and this is how I've always done it, and this is how I'm always gonna do it. So everybody else can fuck off, basically.
And Mad Crime in chat just said the game has always changed and evolved, and gamers can still run their worlds however they would like. And Mad Crime,
that's a really good point.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. It's not the changes to the individual game that we're talking about. The reason that we're talking about this and the reason that everyone got so upset is because there is a wide expanding network of interconnected games that Wizards of the Coast originally ran and started, but has since given over to other organizations to run, and that's called Adventures League. And this is where a lot of people go to find games when they move to a new area, or if they haven't played in a long time and they're coming back to the game. And so what ends up happening with that is these people show up and they find out what... I got a really bad echo, guys.
I think it's from just his computer, maybe? Or I don't know.
Hang on one second.
Is your headset acting up again?
No, I changed out headsets.
Okay.
So basically what happened is that they basically get to they come back to these games, or they're trying to find new games or whatever, and they end up discovering that all these changes were made. And those changes are, drastic in this case. And then they find out why these changes were made. They spend a little time reading or whatever, and then that's where the I guess you'd say hurt feelings come in. But another thing about it is the people who are of this mindset that are upset about it for those reasons, I mean, they're defending what they believe to be true. But when we look at it as adults, looking at this as okay, I have a 17-year-old son and a 22-year-old daughter. All right. I think that the changes for this game are much better for them, both as a way to have a story be built out and be more, not realistic, but more believable and more honest than having a whole bunch of people who run around and, you can kill these guys indiscriminately because they're just evil. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Well, I was gonna say, kind of piggybacking off of that. I think for one, that's gonna make being a player even more interesting, because you can't just you're skulking through the woods and happen upon this orc band. Well, now you have to if you kill those people, you just murdered someone. You don't know if they were gonna attack you if they saw you. Like, you have to actually think. And I think it adds a whole, not necessarily new concept to it, but it expands the concept of being conscious of, of the NPCs.
Of your actions.
Yeah,
exactly.
And that's another point. That's another wonderful point that leads us right back to a lot of the resentment that came in, because a lot of people play these games, and this does not go to personal home games, because, like we said, this is not really going to affect home games because you can run your game any way you want to. We're talking about effects on the community, so in order to represent that as thinking about effects on the community, it's more about the effects on the gaming community, which in that turn relates back to Adventures League, okay, or store games in general, because most store owners, if they don't have Adventures League, they want to have the store playing as near to Wizards rule sets and everything as they can, to give people a good general experience that's going to translate to most places they go. So, that all being said, what this leads to, and that is the people who are, want to come in and escape and not have to think about everything they do. They want that I can just run into the forest and find a group of orcs And what does not kill me gives me XP.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that's something that a lot of the players who are not as heavy into the role play aspect of the game and are more into the combat sim side of the game, that is something that has really really made that portion of the community upset, because they have lost their ability to just run around. I mean, we all know what a murder hobo is.
Hmm.
But
Exactly.
and murder hobos are indiscriminate. They don't care. They'll kill town's guard. They'll kill the farmer. They'll kill the orc. They don't care. This is not about the murder hobo. This is about the player who loves the combat mechanic of the game, loves to maximize his character, and loves to go out and just get into fights. And like we've always said, there is not a wrong way to enjoy your game, because the key word is enjoy your game. If
Hmm.
you're enjoying the game, perfect. If you find a group of people who enjoy playing that game the way you like to play it, fucking really perfect.
Hmm.
But when you come to, once again, this is a social game, so when you come into the community, these players who wanted to escape and just go and slaughter things are suddenly having to go, okay, so the GM says you killed the orc, and he didn't seem to be really into the fight. He seemed kind of looking over his shoulder all the time like he was trying to run, and when he finally cut and run, you cut him down. And then you basically start looting the orc, and you find a locket in his pocket which has a little bitty picture of a baby orc in it, and another picture of the mama orc in it, and you realize you just
Hmm.
killed someone's dad.
Hmm.
And that guy's like, what the fuck is
Shut
going
the
on?
hell up.
I
Right.
just wanted to fucking kill an orc, get some XP and some loot. And so that's something that has, taken those players and put them in a weird no man's land, where now they don't have a place to go for that, because now everything's got backstory and nah. But like I said, that is an aspect of the community that's going to either have to look for home games or get used to the fact that there's now consequences in the game, because that's the nature of the beast now. Um, I personally am massively heavy on backstory. I am the bastard who will go through. Yes, thank you, Meg. Baby's got backstory. But I'm the beast who will go through and let you kill the orc, and then see the fear in his eyes, and before you cut him down, and then loot the body and find that locket. I will do that to you every day of the week.
He's kind of a dick like that.
Yeah. I do give really nasty bad guys, and I do give you, gun, safety's off, guns open, guns hot. This guy is an asshole and he's trying to kill all the babies. Go kill him. But there is a lot of stuff. The biggest word in my storytelling, that is one that I always tell all my players, and I reiterate it all the time, is consequences. Every single action has consequences. And for a lot of gamers, especially new gamers, they get to a game, they hit the table, and they say, well, what can I do? And the GM says anything you want. And it's, the safeties are off and the guns are hot and everyone's a target, because they suddenly have no reason to hold back, except there's still going to be consequences.
So to that point about people just, being very combat heavy and, very little role play. I mean, this is a TTRPG, a tabletop role playing game. I know, Ray, you and I were talking earlier today, and if people want that pure combat, I mean, you came up with a lot of ideas, 40K, other games that you mentioned.
Mhm.
Yeah. So Dungeons and Dragons is meant to be a role-playing game.
Mm-hmm.
It is meant to deep dive into these characters, into their backstories. And I understand not everybody plays it that way. I love role playing. I love being able to essentially get out of my own head and get into my character's head.
Right.
I usually make pretty deep, pretty heavy backstory characters who have that flaw, who have that connection. Those things that you can pick when you're creating your character. I usually don't use those pre-gen ones. I go in and actually make a flaw, and I make who my connection is, and So to your point, it's just role playing. Like, it is meant to be role played. If you want to role play combat, that is perfectly fine. You need to find the people around you who will play with you who also want that, because you're not just doing a one person game. You have to find a good middle ground for everybody. And if you're at a role playing table and all you want to do is combat, then you should probably find another table. Whereas if you're at a combat table, but you also want some of that role play experience, first of all, before you find another table, you need to talk to your people. The people at the table, talk to the DM, GM, and be like, look, this is what I want out of this. If maybe they'll work with you and put a little more combat or put a little more role play into it. But if that doesn't work out, you should probably go find another table.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand, maybe not so much anymore, but finding tables used to be really hard. Before we got a big influx of people playing Dungeons and Dragons over the past couple of years. People used to have to drive 30, 40 miles, and that's the closest game to them. But with the influx over, I'd say probably the past 5 or 6 years, it's not that hard. You might find somebody on your street who plays a game, and then maybe 3 streets over.
Yeah, but and that's completely true. All that's dead accurate. The biggest thing that you can have in a game that will cause strife is a bunch of people at a table with different agendas and goals for what they feel the focus of the game can be. So one of the things that I do and that I tailor to, and I haven't done it with you guys yet, and because we were just excited to get the game going, but I'm going to be submitting this to you all. Okay, there is a system. John Wick, who is an incredible game designer, he designed 7C, 7C Second Edition. He designed Legend of the Five Rings, amazing games, amazing worlds. But he has a system he started in 7C First Edition, and it's called, 7C characters are made with 100 points to create your character. So he created something he called the other 100 points. So this was to be done like after you created your character and you had your background and everything like that. Hey, Reaper. So he basically said, I want you to take 100 points, and I'm going to give you these categories. And we're going to divide those 100 points. Each one of you is going to divide 100 points between these categories. Then you're going to hand them to me. I'm going to calculate every single category. I'm going to calculate the averages in those categories. And I'm going to have an overall, basically a graph, that's going to show me how you want me to run the game as a group. So, and the categories are basically horror, intrigue, military, mystical, tragedy, and exploration. And I kind of changed them up a little bit. I kept exploration. I didn't really keep mystical. Can change where the system is. He also has another one called the court, but that's just politics. So I have political. I have what I call he calls it military, but I call it action. So I have action. I have political. I have, and political is different from intrigue in the fact that political is actually, going out and trying to, basically win over voters, going out and something like that. And intrigue is actual, espionage. So, so I do political, intrigue. I do action, exploration. No one really does that too much, but I still leave it in there just in case, because that determines whether we're going to do a campaign set in one location for a long period of time, or if you guys want to get out there and explore this world. Because every single time you come into a world, it's basically brand new to you guys unless you played in it a lot. So it goes through and you basically can get a chance to explore the world, especially like Forgotten Realms or a world with a hell of a lot of lore. You get a chance to go in and explain that world. Explore that world, I mean. And then horror, it depends on the game system. You know what I mean? If you're playing Call of Cthulhu, then you're going to get it anyway, so why bother to put it in there? But if you're playing Forgotten Realms or you're playing Eberron, horror is not going to be as big an aspect. It's going to be more of a tangential line that happens occasionally. It's not going to be a direct constant. And the other one, I don't like the idea of tragedy, because it there's
Aren't all yours tragedies?
well, that's the
Right?
thing. I run my games based on two other principles. One of them is also John Wick's, and that principle is never let them rest. PCs are heroes, and if anyone knows anything, it's that the hero's story never ends well.
And they also usually come from broken homes.
That's
Hey.
the player side. But no, and the other thing I ascribe to is that heroes. I look at them as from the aspect of the Grecian heroes. You know, these are heroes are people who are thrust
Be
into,
gods.
huh?
We're gonna be gods, Cassie.
Oh God.
Actually, think about it. How many of the Greek heroes actually made it to demigod status? I think two.
Okay, and so I've actually had one of my characters become a god in another campaign, and like that was like one of the most one of those most amazing moments of my life. Like, I was literally sitting there like curled up in my chair, like crying tears of joy, like watching all of our characters ascend into godhood. It was like so yeah, that is technically a real thing that, you know, people make happen sometimes.
Technically.
Technically.
But yeah, so the whole aspect comes down to, you know, we need. I'm going to create these other 100 points for each one of the campaigns that we're running for my two campaigns, and we're gonna do those as well. So it gives me a better idea to focus what to focus on, you know, and so it's a way for GMs to go into a situation like this and get a quick reading on how many people want to be action heavy and how many people want to explore the political aspects of whatever world they're in, and how many want to, you know, and do we want how many want to be, be doing espionage and spying and stuff like that. And it gives you an idea of where to align the campaign and how to make it fit into both your storyline as a GM that you're trying to put out there and the meta that the characters want to see as part of the game world itself. So it helps with all the situations. Now, one of the other things that the, you know, Wizards tried to address with this is they were addressing the idea and the concept that racial stereotypes or racist stereotypes are something that was it hurts the game overall. Okay, and that's because the game was, of course, written in another era. We're talking about, you know, almost 50 years of history, and in a time period when things were very, very different, you know, and so there wasn't as much forethought put into it, or, you know, there wasn't, you know, there was some very obvious allegorical tangential references that were put between certain races in the fantasy realms and certain people in our world, and it was very explicitly done. And it was something that, you know, they've slowly over the years been moving away from, but it's something that definitely needed to be addressed. Um, Even right now in the Eberron campaign, we had a situation where there is a race in Eberron called the Warforged,
Mm-hmm.
and they were a literal slave race. They were created creatures. They were sentient, but they're made by magic, and they were made to fight a war. They were literally just created to fight a war, and that war finally ended. And all these Warforged, as part of one of the treaties, the Warforged were released. They were unbound. They were given their freedom. But now you have all these Warforged wandering around trying to find a life after this. And you have a bunch of people who are trying to deal with the fact that there's this whole other race coming up that is basically, you know, there's a lot of it brings up a lot of source subjects that are already primed in our own culture, and it is something that was it's kind of hard to touch on as a GM. It's hard to refer to.
Well, to that point, a lot of people, when they play these games, they want to kind of get out of, I guess, their own space.
Mhm.
People don't want to go into a game that has racism, go into a game that has this politics. They're trying to escape from that. I personally, so one of my games, um, where I played the orc paladin, I faced a lot of racism because I was an orc and because one of the um, on that world, the orcs belong to something known as the Cabal,
Mhm.
and so every time I'd come around, people thought it was the Black Cabal, and like, or that I was with the Black Cabals, excuse me. And so I faced a lot of racism. People always calling me names, and I didn't understand it because I was not from that world. Based, a little backstory for our viewers. Uh, all the characters, all the player characters, were transported to this world magically through divination. However, we're not really sure yet. And so I had no history of this world, no knowledge of what it was. I just know I'm an orc in an unknown land. So they were calling me all these names, or were referencing to me as as the names they give to the members of the Cabal, which are essentially what we're referring to now as the evil races. Or what was previously known as the evil races.
Mhm.
That was all the people in the Cabal, and still don't know much about them. Don't know what their intentions are. We haven't run into them in the game, but my character is facing racism, and I had to kind of deal with that and like talk to my my DM. I'm like, hey, I just kind of want to know what's going on here. And he kind of explicitly told me, hey, you're facing racism because you are an orc and people believe you belong to this organization. They don't know anything about my character, whether where he's from, that he's not from their world. He was magically teleported there. He doesn't even know about the Cabal. They just see, hey, he's an orc, he must belong to the Cabal. And so I kind of think what they're doing with the changes, I mean, we can call it progress.
Mhm.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
Going from having this race that is just known to be evil just because of how they look to nobody's inherently evil. And I mean, I personally believe that nobody's inherently evil. You get it from learning. You learn how to be evil. Doesn't matter what you look like. You learn how to be evil. You learn how to be racist. You learn, um, I thought I had another one to go there. I don't.
Well, one of the things I was going to say is, a lot of people try and make the point that people with sociopathy um, are, people who are uh, have mental health issues that make them unable to tell right from wrong.
Yeah.
Um, you know, they usually are not necessarily evil. They can commit horribly evil acts, but they don't have these same checks and balances within their mind that we have to give them a sense of right and wrong. So they do things based on want and need. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Rather than right and wrong. They may want to do this, so they do it because they don't have that concept. And that's something completely different because that's kind of how they used to it's kind of how they used to build out the evil races. They did this because they were what they were. They didn't do this to fulfill like a directive or order. Like an orc now would be seen, would be following, because in his culture, it's might makes right. So, orcs follow the biggest, strongest, loudest orc. And that's just a cultural thing now. It's not a racial thing. But it used to be basically a racial thing. And
Mm-hmm.
so now it's a cultural thing where the orcs follow it's part of their culture that's how they do. And that's how orc war bands form that come in and pillage an area and everything like that. Now, we have an analogous culture to that in our own history, and that's the Vikings. I mean, the Vikings weren't evil. They just had a culture that was fostered on the fact that they lived in an area where there wasn't real farmland. They barely could eke out a living there, and they basically went through this entire process where they discovered that they could go out and raid other people who were not expecting them to show up because they didn't know they existed, number one, and number two, these people lived in much more pastoral settings, and every single person in the village wasn't trained to fight. They had armies that were trained to defend them, but a Vikings, you roll into a Viking town and pretty much everyone will put up arms. But even the serfs in the Vikings society knew how to fight. But if you roll into a peasant village in merry old England, and they're just gonna roll right through. And
Well,
so
on that note, I'll definitely say that you are and are not correct and incorrect in the sense that there are the Norsemen and then there are the Vikings. They're not both. A Viking is a Norseman, but a Norseman is not always a Viking.
Oh, absolutely. But what I'm saying is that as a culture and the people, they were as they say, a very hardy stock. They lived a very hard lifestyle, and it made them much more used to those situations. Because before the Vikings went out and raided everyone else, they were raiding each other. They just found easier pickings outside their own culture. So Vikings are a good analogous example to a lot of the races in 5e that they're considered evil, because the Viking culture was about going out and taking what you needed from others and bringing it back to support the people at home. And so, the thing that makes the mystical, the fantasy races more along the lines of evil is that the orcs didn't really give two shits about the people at home. The evil races were just like, we go and raid and take what we want, and we come home. We may or may not give them stuff. So, but yeah. So the biggest another big thing is that the whole thing about the process of changing this has led to another discussion that has come up, and I don't know if this one's as controversial, but one of the things a lot of people have said is, if we're gonna do away with the concept of the complete concept of races actually being able to be evil, shouldn't that make us think that the idea of archetypal concepts of behavior are not realistic either? Like locking people into alignments. Because no person makes the right decision all the time. No one can be lawful good 24/7 a day.
Absolutely. Alignments. And we've already talked about my views on the alignment system. It is, I'm sure at one point it served a purpose, as far as like an easy bait character. Of course the lawful good paladin is going to go save those people. But when it comes down to it, if we're heroes, we're all going to go save those people. Some for other reasons, some, for whatever. But at the same time, it's just, it is outdated. And it just, like you're saying, somebody who is good isn't going to be good all the time. Somebody who's lawful good. And the lawful can be either they follow the law or they follow their own, code of conduct, which is why if we're going alignment, I usually use, so good and evil, it's, selfless versus selfish, and then, lawful versus chaotic, they're principled versus unprincipled.
So the way I look at alignments is, what are your actions a majority of the time? So yeah, you might have that lawful good paladin who goes into a fit of rage, and accidentally does something that might be evil. Of course, now he's going to have to suffer the consequences per his oath if he broke one of his oaths.
Mhm.
But so now, I know I've talked to Ray and Kessie about this. I do not like how the older versions and how older DMs, GMs will still lock you into lawful good on Paladin. But 90% of your thought process should be whatever your alignment is. So my games, we don't use alignment, but I still use alignment to, like, personally, to how I'm going to play my character. Okay, am I playing this neutral rogue who, sometimes he's for himself and sometimes, you don't really know where his actions are going to go because sometimes he's for himself, sometimes he's for the group. But I also like what you said, Josh, instead of doing good and evil, selfish and selfless. That is a good, I guess, like crossover between the two of them. So if 90% of your thoughts or a majority of your thoughts are, hey, let's go over here. Because even evil characters can be persuaded to do the good thing if the price is right. So you're not, an evil character could go out and save a kid from a drowning well as long as somebody's offering money or there's something in it for him. So I do like how you said selfish and selfless, because what we know is an evil character, if something's in it for him, now he's being selfish by saving that kid. He's doing a good act, but it is for his own gain. So therefore it's selfish.
And I think that the main thing about that situation is what is the coming up with a general idea of the psychology of your characters. One of my questions in the 20 questions that I give my players to ask about their characters is, what is your character's psychology? What is his basic makeup of his personality? Is he a coward? Is he fairly brave? Is he just a normal person, thrown into an incredible situation? How is he going to deal with things? It's a general question that leads to a very long thought process as you have to work through that. And for me, even, there's people who are more self-centered. There's people who are more, considerate and giving. There's all kinds of that. But in the end, there is the whole point of the hero's journey is the journey of change and transition. A character may start out, young and vibrant and full of hope, but as he goes through this and gets put through trial after trial, it could wear down on him and make him jaded. But the exact opposite is true. You could get a player who comes in with a character that is already cynical and jaded, but through the influence of his fellow heroes and the influence of the people that they go through and help and save, his outlook could change. So it's never me coming in. I don't ever like coming in and saying, this is your character's alignment per se. You guys come up with what their outlook is right now. And as we go through the process of telling this story, hopefully you'll allow the character to be influenced by the story, and you'll allow him to be changed by the story, and let the story advance his personality and make it grow, because that is probably the best story we can tell, is the story of each individual character's growth, their further entanglements with each other, and the way they bond together and form that family unit that we love to see in heroic bands. That situation where when the fight comes down to it and they know what's at stake, they look at each other and they realize that every single person there is just as willing to give up everything for each other as the other person in that group is.
Well, and speaking to that, like one of the things that pulling from Critical Role is that if you are still using alignment, having that idea that alignment can change. Like if you want to still use it in your games, it's okay. But like realize that things you do, like if you decide in a moment to do a certain thing that would technically be out of your alignment that you originally chose, that it might change things. Because that happened in Critical Role in the first campaign.
Well,
One
correct
of
me
the
if I'm wrong,
players-
but
Vex.
that's actually
Yes, that's what I'm saying. That was I wasn't going to use names and stuff because I wasn't going to do spoilers in case some people haven't watched the first campaign that are watching. But yes, Vex does a certain thing.
Meg
And
just
therefore-
outed it. Chat.
Therefore, if you steal a broom, yeah, like things, your alignment can change. And she was unhappy with that at first. Matt made that decision as a DM. He said, your alignment has now changed because of that action.
Yeah,
And
Matt-
she was unhappy with it. She was like, I don't think that was deserved. And he goes, you took something solely for the purpose of you wanted it. And it was for you and you alone. That was it. He
Yep.
goes, that changed your alignment.
Mad Crime
And,
in
like-
chat.
correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't an alignment change that's actually in the Dungeon Master's Guide that you can change alignments, correct?
Yeah.
I have not read it, so I don't know because I've not gotten to that point in my D&D
Yeah,
journey.
And Meg
but
Meg made the point that she doesn't think it was just that action. It was
it wasn't just that. It was an
accumulation
accumulation of things,
yeah.
but it was that incident that made me make that decision to finally change it.
Right. And
So
Mad
it was-
Crimes in chat was saying it's all about motivation, morals, and desires. Tough
Yes.
decisions are just great to role play. And
Mm-hmm.
so that is something that I think Mad Crime that the actual alignment system can squelch in these games because characters come in, especially new players, they come in and they read the alignment chart and they read how their character's supposed to act, and then in a tough decision, they may, after having played this character for a while, they may be thinking, I don't think that he would make this decision anymore within that alignment.
Yeah.
But they say, but I'm that alignment, so
Yeah.
I have to stick with it. And so it's about giving the characters freedom to allow giving the players freedom to allow their characters to grow.
And again, like that comes down to the relationship between the DM and players of like them expressing that to them. You know, it comes down a lot to like, yeah, whether or not you're going to use alignment or not. And then if you are, how are you using it? Like, are you expecting your players to, if they choose an alignment, you're going to stick to that alignment? Or is it do what you feel your character would do in the moment, but just know that might change things?
Yep.
And so,
Yeah.
One
Um,
approach that I think has been pretty effective for me is, when people are making characters, I tell them, don't put an alignment. I'll determine your alignment. In the sense of, everybody starts, we'll say, neutral or whatever, and then based on their actions that they do throughout the game, they can ask me for an alignment update, but it's going to be based solely off their actions on what they're doing.
mhm.
And
And
that's
I've heard
even
of a
if I
lot of
choose to
people
use
doing
alignment.
that. Yeah, and I've heard of a lot of people doing it that way, which I think is kind of a good idea in a sense, because then it gives the players again that idea like you're not having to stick to one track of like these are the things that I would have to do because this is the alignment that I'm in.
Right.
Like you do what you feel your character would do, and then that might change things down the road. But like that's like we don't really use alignment for anything in our campaign either. Like again, like I choose one because I start to think about like my character and what they would do in certain situations based on what I've come up with for their backstory. But I also have changed things before because like we don't technically use it for anything in our games. So like for my games outside of dinner game and stuff, and it's just so I've always like looked at those things just to try to give me an idea of like what direction I would go with certain actions and stuff.
Yeah, I don't think for Eberron, I don't think I even asked any of you what your
I don't-
alignments are.
I don't
just
think
like,
you did.
Bleh, I don't care. We're gonna
Yeah.
play a game and you're gonna be who you're gonna be, and eventually, that's gonna change.
Yep.
So,
Oh,
For me
definitely.
personally, like I said, I kind of give myself an alignment, and then that's
Mhm.
how my actions are a majority of the time. Now, if something happens where I think my character, whether it be greed or an outside force, or I just feel like if I'm playing, a like a divine class, a cleric or a paladin, or divine warlock, celestial wizard, I would, if I feel that divine pull to do something,
Hmm.
then that may take me outside of my alignment. But for me, that doesn't change my alignment immediately. I am still within that certain alignment. It was just that was one action in this pool of actions, which Meg kind of brought it up. That was
Yeah.
the catalyst action that caused her alignment to
To
change.
change, but it was a lot of
But
things leading
yeah,
up to that. It was a
yeah, she
lot of
was doing
decisions she
other
had made.
things.
Mm-hmm.
So, just one action won't change your alignment, but if you continue to make those actions repetitively, it will change your alignment. And again, it's not necessarily, an alignment change is not bad. An alignment change is growth in your character,
It,
which is
Exactly.
it
what
used to be bad.
Right.
Yeah.
There used to be actual
and some
ramifications
people
for
have
alignment changes.
and people have reactions to it again.
Yeah.
Like I said, based on like the way Laura reacted to that, she was extremely unhappy with it at first. But it's just like, yeah, I don't necessarily think that it should be seen. And again, that all depends on what kind of game you're playing and how that might affect your game. But yeah,
so if you're playing like a party of like clerics and paladins, and like you are, the basic game was you went from this specific, like monastery, or no, sorry, not monastery. That's monk. Like temple, or some sort of divine organization. Yeah, you might all be lawful good or neutral good, or maybe even you might have a paladin who's chaotic good, but you're probably all going to fall in the good alignment. But the longer you're away from the church and around that influence that is keeping you good, as you see the evil in the world, and knowing that not everybody is good. Like you've had this limited experience in the church, or you've been in the I'm saying church, based on because that's kind of our comparison to the world. The longer you're in this church, you feel like that all people are good. Well, once you start getting out into the world, you see that you run into some bandits. Oh, that's a one thing. Don't worry, not everybody's like that. These are just evil people. Well, maybe those bandits are only stealing because something's happening in their town where they now need to resort to these acts to survive. So and the longer they're out on the road, maybe their alignments will all change in a different way. Maybe some people will stay that lawful good. Maybe some people will move down into neutral good, or move over to more chaotic alignments. But I always feel like as a character, that is my goal is to flesh out my character. How would he react in this scenario? What is his background? How would he react, and then how is that going to change him in the future?
That's I think that's the whole point of actually playing in a role-playing game, is that that change and growth. It's complicated. It's when I talk to people who want to get into gaming or new to gaming, and I start describing what a game is like, the one thing that always seems to give people pause is they say, I don't think I could do that, when they're talking about role playing. And I was like, well, don't come into your first game and think that you have to create this other personality on your first try out. Come into the game and be yourself. Inhabit a character that is you, and react as you would to these situations. And shush, Meg.
I was actually just about to say, not looking at anybody, especially in this chat right now.
But Meg, this is not about you. This is something I told to lots of people. Come into the game and do not try and do something extra. Be yourself. Yeah, be you, do what you do. Jessica said it's your role playing. And then all you have to do from that is, think about you think about being you, but you're now in another setting. And I've even run games for people like this. I was at a party on a military base with a bunch of airmen, and me and my friend Anthony, we were talking about stuff back and forth, and these other guys came up and they were listening to us talk, and we were talking about some game we were playing at the time, and they're like, "What the hell are you talking about? Is that a video game?" And we're like, No, it's not." And we were like, "It's D&D," and they were like, "What the hell's D&D?" And we were like, "Oh, this is not gonna go well." So we started explaining it to them, and then they were like, "What? How the hell does that work?" And I was just like, "Well,
It's airmen.
yeah."
They're all nerds.
Well, I was just like, they were like, "How the hell's that work?" And
You
I was
would
like,
know.
"No," I said, "Look, let's just do it." And they're like, "What?" I was like, "We don't need any fucking dice, fuck it." I was like, and I started to describe. I set up a scene, told them where they were doing, and I was like, and they were like, "Well, why am I here?" And I was like, "You don't know that." I was like, "You just showed up. You're you, but you're now standing in this room. You have all this strange clothing and gear on. You somehow know what everything is. You know what a baldric is. You know what a tabard is. You know what a fucking a cinch cloth is. You know everything. You understand what you're wearing." I was like, "But you have no idea why." And then I launched into this, like, I think we were there for like 3 hours standing outside the frickin' dorms, and I was just running them through this thing real fast. And at the end of it, they were all like, they were all frickin' getting into it, and at the end of it, they were like, I was like, "And that's basically D&D."
Yep.
And they were
I
like,
love that.
and they were like,
"What's D&D? How much time you got?"
So I was like, and I said that's basically D&D. And they're like,
Yeah.
"Holy crap, how do we do this? Where do we?" And I was like, I told him, I was like, "It's a lifetime commitment."
I mean, like, it really, really is, though. I mean, I've personally have only been playing for about 4 years now,
Mhm.
but like the D&D in general has just already become such a big, important thing in my life over those 4 years. Like, I started right after my son was born, essentially, and I'm just like it's incredible. I don't know. It's just incredible because it's brought me to so many different people that I never would have met otherwise. It's brought me to like an extremely happy place in my life. I don't know how else to explain it, but like D&D is just such an incredible world in general.
Mhm.
Like just and gaming in general too. Really, like even just outside of D&D, but it's
Well, you're just taking your first steps into that big world outside.
I
of
know
D&D.
I am.
Yeah, absolutely. And
So it's like it's this whole big world that most people don't even realize what it is. Like at work, I am the only person who does any kind of gaming of this nature. So I
Nerd.
still yep. I get called it all day, every day. I've started to talk about my streams now, and they're like, "Wait, what?" And I'm like, "So I play D&D on the internet now."
you just went
and then-
from nerd to super nerd.
Exactly. And everybody's like, "Oh my God, nerd." And I'm like, I am, and I own it, and I love it because I'm just like that. This is. I feel like I've been leading up to this my entire life, like for real, because like I have always been this kid. I've always been this kid who was into all sorts of things that like not a normal girl my age was into. I grew up with an uncle who's 7 years older than me and a younger brother, and like I have been always into all of these things that were like, "But you're a girl, like why do you even like that?" And it's like, because I like it, like. But it's just
You, that's why.
but that's neither here nor there. But it's just like I don't know. I just feel like this is kind of where I've been heading my whole life, kind of thing. But like I still have to like literally just 2 days ago, I had to explain to somebody what D&D was first because they had no idea. No, we were standing outside of an OR waiting to do an in-service. I literally had like 10 minutes. So no, it was like a brief description of like what it was in general, because everybody goes, "So it's like a video game," and I'm like, no, it's not a video game. So it's like so then when I started explaining, I'm like, "You're all sitting around a table," and it's like, "So it's a board game." No, it's not a board game. so what do you do? And it's like, okay, so
One thing I like to do to like help describe it is, it's like, you remember those choose your own adventure books? Well, yeah, it's like that,
That's-
except it's really you choosing your own adventure.
and that's like a really, really good way to explain it. I might have to steal that.
Yeah,
But,
no, I'm
like-
definitely stealing that from you, Josh.
Right,
And,
for
but
real.
you can't it's one of those where you always take your hand off the page. You can't go back. It's just once you did it,
you did it exactly. So not only did I have to explain to her what that was, but then I was like, okay, well, here, let me show you what it looks like when people are playing this online. So first I showed her a clip of Critical Role. I showed her what it looks like when there's a group of people sitting around a table
Shit,
and
we
playing
wish
and
it looked
streaming
like
it.
that.
I know. But I showed her that first, and then I said, ours is a little different, though, because we're all in very different places. So
And
we're
our
all
DM is fat
streaming
and
from our
ugly.
old. Shut up. I did not say that.
means
I
more
would
to
never
love.
say that because, Ray, you're beautiful.
I know.
Anyway.
I took that.
So we, God Lord. Okay. Anyway.
Sorry, I didn't mean to
And
interrupt
so I was like, so then I showed her a clip of one of our games to show her, just to
you. So
show
you
her
lowered
like
the
this
bar.
You set
You
the
set
bar
it
really,
slowly
really
go
high.
this is what ours looks like. And literally the only comment she had was how uninterested I looked. And I was like, oh Lord. I was like, that's just my face. Like, I'm sorry, that's just my face.
Was it
like,
wait. Was it the monster? What clip from Monster of the Week?
I don't even remember which one it was
Because
now.
your
I don't remember
character
which
in
one I
Monster
pulled
of the
up.
Week was like the jaded teen.
Yeah,
and you
she
always
was.
looked
She was
like,
just
you always had resting bitch face when you're.
I know.
when you're
But
sitting
I
there
feel
saying-
like I kind of do to a certain extent, like in my everyday life. Like I get caught like looking like I'm miserable and uninterested in everything quite often. And I'm like, I'm sorry, this is just the way that my face is. Like when I'm not necessarily feeling or dealing with anything.
I'm
This
not
is just my
engaged,
face.
So therefore, this is my listening face.
Yeah, this is just my face. I
What's wrong with your
apologize
face?
if that makes you uncomfortable, but it's like I don't know what to do about it. But it was just funny that was her one comment. But it was nice. It was exciting to get to like explain it to somebody else who had no idea what I was talking about, had no idea what it was even about.
Mhm.
But that is my life at work. Like at work, nobody understands what I'm talking about. Nobody understands what I'm talking about. Like I don't bring it up very often because I'm just like they're just gonna look at me like I'm crazy. Which I mean I am a little, but you know.
Now that brings up one other.
All the
one,
best people are.
Yeah. Well, this brings up one other point that I was trying to kind of get to. What that leads back to the other players, the older players, kind of having these extreme reactions to this, because you got to remember one very important thing: that little bit of criticism you felt at work, that little bit of ostracism that you felt at work.
Mm-hmm.
When these guys back in the day started playing this game, this was something you could not tell anyone.
Yeah.
This was something like
And at least nowadays, yeah, like I can say it and not fear that somebody's gonna be like, so you worship the devil kind
or,
of thing.
Yeah,
you
or,
know?
or you're a freak, or
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well,
I mean, the worst that happens is I get called a nerd, like very loudly.
which is a badge of honor now.
Yeah.
well,
And honestly, for me, like I said, like I don't care. Call me a nerd. I am.
I was gonna say, so it which also brings up a really good point that I was also hoping to make is that Kessie, you and we have it easy.
Mhm.
I
For
also
sure.
got it. I also got into it within the past 5 years or so. But one of my old roommates, he's been playing since AD&D.
Mhm.
He had to deal with the satanic panic and all that shit. And
That's
he had,
heartbreaking.
he actually had to it was either him or maybe another one of my friends, or I'm getting confused, but they actually had a sheriff stand there with them while they played it to make sure that there was
Wow.
nothing, or sorry, deputy, not sheriff.
Well, but
anyways,
still, yeah.
and so where I am I feel incredibly thankful to
Mhm.
have not just not the ostracization, but also the resources, which I believe Ray was hitting on earlier. Have or maybe it was Philip. The closest game was 30 miles. And so, I mean, I live in Austin. Whenever there's not a quarantine going on, there's several game stores with several weekly games going on.
Mhm.
So it just and so I can understand the bitterness of it, and I can understand the gatekeeping, but at the same time, it doesn't make it right. You're
No.
doing
Hell no.
the exact same thing that
That
people
was done
see.
to you. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's actually one thing I don't do. I don't gatekeep or anything like that. I lost a friend. I wasn't allowed to be her friend anymore because her mom found out that I played games on the weekend that involved vampires. So I must be of the devil. And so, yeah, I couldn't play with that friend anymore. Like,
Hey,
what the hell?
I
Because
got that. I got that as a kid, even without playing D&D. I dyed my hair.
Oh.
I dyed my hair black.
you were
in
an
jun-
goth.
Emo,
though.
emo,
I-
Cassie.
Yeah, I dyed my hair black in
You see
junior
pictures.
high, or not junior high, in high school, in my junior year of high school. Is what I was trying to say. My junior year of high school, I dyed my hair black, and I had one of my very good friends that I had been friends with her since middle school. And her mother said, "You're not allowed to hang out with her anymore. She's not allowed at our house because she obviously has problems,
But that used to be
and she's
what people
obviously
said.
a bad influence on you."
Well, that's what people used to say about our community in general.
Yeah.
And we've gone over this a lot,
Mhm.
and we're going to have another show. In fact, I'll set this as the topic for next week.
Okay.
So first off, we are well over an hour. So
Oh shoot! I didn't even look at the time.
I know, but it's been a great conversation. I want to thank
Mhm.
everyone for showing up. You guys really helped us kind of, give our views on this and kind of point a light on what's going on. And I like the fact that even though it was brought up what the pains that are going through the community are, none of you trashed those people who are having
Mm-mm.
these issues, because their world is being really rocked right now. A lot of them feel like they're losing something that has been theirs for so long, and the only place they feel safe for so long was in this community. And now this community is exploding with a bunch of new people, and a lot of these people, a lot of us are socially awkward. We have issues making friends. We have issues dealing with new people. And suddenly our community went from this tiny little group to fucking Critical Role has 60,000 people watch it a night.
Yep.
And so this community went from this tiny little thing that people felt safe in being because they knew everybody. And everybody was there to help each other. And now it's a real community with lots of people with different ideas. We had a gamer that used to come into one of the game stores we frequented, and he wanted to be part of the group so bad, but he was kind of socially awkward, and he was one of those people who was a jock in high school and everything like that, and he got into this when in his early 30s, and he would come into the game store, and he would literally at the top of his lungs go, "What the fuck's up with all you nerds?" And people, you could literally see people turn around with fear in their eyes, because they were used to that meaning something very bad for them.
Mhm.
And then
Get
he
my
would,
ass.
yeah, or someone's coming in to say something horrible to me or to do something bad to me, and you could see the entire game store spin around in their chairs.
Yeah.
And and he didn't realize he was doing it until one night after we always stood around after everyone always stands around outside the game store after it closes.
Oh yeah.
And has that gab
that is
fest.
a thing.
Yeah. And so we were sitting around, and I was talking to him, and he was sitting there, and he's very boisterous. He's much louder than me, and he was talking, and so I kind of pulled him aside and I said, "Hey man, when you show up at the store, you always you're always really loud." And he's like, "Yeah, it's kind of like my Norm thing, Norm Macdonald from Cheers. I come running in, I say, 'Hey,' and everyone goes, 'Hey,' and I was like, dude, you need to look around next time you do that. If you ever do it again, I said, because you need to look around and see some of those people's faces. I was like, they ain't saying hey, they're going, hi. That ain't comfortable, man.
It's because we're scared.
Yeah, well, it's because some of them are scared. Some of them are, a lot of them don't know who you are, and it's like, you gotta be, careful with the ideas that you're throwing out there, because a lot of them, when someone comes in and starts shouting at them and calling them names and stuff like that, I was like, I know you don't mean it that way. I know you're trying to greet a group of people who you've come to really enjoy being a part of, and you feel like you're saying, you're being very boisterous in the fact that you are part of the group. You're including yourself in the nerds. I was like, but they don't see that. Huh?
Was he?
He thought he was. He thought he was like, I'm a nerd, you're a nerd, we're all nerds. Hey, fucking nerds, let's play. But
I don't know.
I know, and you know who I'm talking
I
about.
do. I do. And so many times he would say, "What's up, nerds?" And he would have that look on his face. And any of you that got beat up or picked on or whatever for being a dork in high school or middle school probably remembers, the nerd, the look of derision. Is that a word?
Derision is definitely the word.
Yeah, I was trying to. Am I pronouncing that right? Anyway, but okay, he might be saying, "Yeah, I'm one of you," but I don't usually, when talking about myself, think, "Oh yeah, I'm awesome." What the hell? I mean, his face completely changed when he said nerds. Which is why I was positive he fucking beat kids up in middle school.
But yeah,
And
but he
stuff
felt like he was just trying to be very boisterous and everything like that, and trying to be, I love you guys and I'm just really loud, But he didn't understand there was a lot of people who really loud is really scary when they're being yelled at and called names. So,
Yeah.
He never really changed that behavior. But I think he did stop yelling nerds, and he just said, "Hey, everybody, what's up?" real loud, and it was a drastic change. No one was terrified of some guy coming in and yelling "Hey" or "Hi," because he wasn't. No one felt like they were being attacked, and it was a drastic change, and people would start to actually talk to him and greet him and stuff like that, where before he would just come straight to our table and play, and that would be it. He wasn't really a part of the entire store community. And it got to the point where he became a regular at the store. He was playing in games that weren't just our games. He was, he became a real part of the community after that. But he was always loud. Because that's just who he was. But, you don't have to change your personality to be able to make sure you're not doing things that cause other people fear or pain.
Yeah.
You just need to understand what other people's point of view is. So, sorry that got off track.
No,
I was trying to wrap up the
show.
Well, Ray, before you wrap up
We've
the show,
never done that before.
Yes.
so if you'll let me back it up about 20 minutes, you made a comment about if you don't know how to role play yourself. And for anybody on the chat or watching this who has never played before, realize that character may change. I'll get a little bit into my personal history real quick. About 6 years ago, I started playing again, and I came out with I was actually playing Pathfinder at the time because that's the group I could find. Because again, back in the day, it was a little bit harder to find games.
Yeah.
So I ended up playing a gunslinger, and this gunslinger was being hunted, and everywhere he went, he felt trapped. So for me personally, that's how I felt in my life at the time. I was in a marriage where I felt trapped, and I didn't know how to get out. Then fast forward about another year and a half, I ended up playing a barbarian who is just, the rage really. I don't know. I really like playing in that rage because I was very angry at the time. Fast forward another, probably about 3-ish months, that character ended up dying in the campaign, and we were still pretty low levels, so resurrection was not a thing at the time. So I came out with, and about the same time I was going through my divorce. So then I rolled up a monk who was just very reckless in everything he did. He'd be the first one in the fray. He was always first to a fight, which is how I was feeling.
I see Kessie's face.
I was like, that's not something that's been said about my monk ever at all.
Hey,
Yeah,
you're not dead yet.
Well, so I played
Not
this.
yet.
So I played him just very recklessly because that's how I was at the time. I was being very reckless, getting way too drunk, way too often.
Yeah.
And I was just being very reckless with my own life. So then, again, based on a couple of decisions outside of my control, that character died. I played 3 characters in one campaign, by the way, in a matter of like 9 months. So that I ended up rolling up a cleric, and for me that was kind of me, I guess, healing. I actually ended up doing an entire year where I didn't drink at all. I moved out of my house, moved in with a great guy. He's my best friend, and I honestly I barely knew the guy at the time, but now he's gonna be the best man at my wedding. He's a great guy. So that was kind of my healing phase, and I played a cleric. And most of this was completely unconscious, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize it until I went back on my characters and realized what was happening in my life.
That you were really just playing out a lot of the things that you needed to emotionally in the game.
Exactly. And I always tell people Dungeons & Dragons is great. It helps you express things that you may not be able to express in your real life. It
really
good.
does.
It's really good for healing. It's really good for children to express their emotions or possibly even things they're feeling. It is good for people who may have mental handicaps or some sort of disease where they cannot effectively bring stuff out in themselves. So it is very much a healing game, and I came to that realization years after I probably should have. But yeah, so just because you played a human rogue who wanted to steal everything does not mean that if you go play yourself a year later, even 6 months later, that you're going to be the same thing. If you make a character about yourself, maybe you've gotten into religious organizations, or you're into nature or something, you may end up playing a cleric, a paladin, or a druid. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
It is all based on you at that moment in time. But if you fast forward another 3 months, another 6 months, and create another character based on you, it may be somebody completely different.
Yeah.
So don't think just because this is what you picked as your first character based on you are stuck into that the entire time. You can always change your character.
You can always change your character even if your character doesn't die.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, it's like that's one of the things that I always try to get across about D&D or playing games of this nature is just like it's so free reign of like expressing yourself in every way possible. And so like I talk about it all the time, and I recommend it all the time to people. I've had so many people I know who have never heard of it or never even done any like have said, oh, I'd like to try that one day. And it's like, you should. I feel like everyone should attempt something like this, because it's like, it's something that will either can help you heal, like you said, or process things in your own life that you don't even realize maybe that you're going through even. But not only that, but it's like, even if it's nothing like that, it just helps. It can help you express yourself just in any way, shape, or form, like how you want to be, like how you really want to live your life.
Yeah, like if
And
you're not an assertive person, you let everybody walk over you. Well, when you play the game and you make
game,
that
you can
conscious effort to be assertive,
exactly.
and that will help you in your real life, because the game, yes, as Ray was talking about, the game has consequences,
Hmm.
but the consequences stop at the game. They have
Yeah.
no real life effect on your
Facts.
life.
Exactly.
So, yeah, maybe you go into this game where you're being assertive and you might be getting too assertive. Well, then there's consequences in the game. Well, now you know in your real life,
Okay.
if you're too assertive,
Let me
there are
not take it that
consequences.
far.
Exactly.
So what I was going to point out about that is in the DSM, which is the handbook for psychiatry, one of the key therapy uses that they have is role play scenarios.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that you can treat a role playing game as therapy, because no one at the
No.
table is usually a licensed
That's-
therapist,
That's
and that's dangerous.
not a thing, and that's not a good
Yeah,
idea.
but what I was trying to say is you can work through personal issues that you're having in game, and sometimes give yourself a new outlook or a new way of thinking that changes how you see your personal situation. Like what Phil was saying, when he was
Mhm.
having all these troubles, he was playing them in the game itself. He was acting those out, and maybe that helped him get through some of those situations faster
Mhm.
because he was seeing the consequences happen in a safe way. Like you said, it was not safe for the characters. They all died.
Not all of them. Not all of my
Not all of
cleric.
them.
My cleric's still there. The game fell apart after that. We lost our DM.
Yeah,
He,
but well,
he
yeah, but
moved.
you know what I'm saying, Phil.
Yeah.
You got to act out some behaviors that I mean, hopefully, pray to God, you never would have gotten to that point of acting as crazy as your D&D characters did. But you got to take your behaviors that and express them in ways that were safer in a safe situation. And
Yeah.
What
so
I feel like is when those. Again, I don't know how it happened, but as I look back, I noticed when I was playing that barbarian, um, or when I was playing the gunslinger first,
mhm,
that character didn't end up dying, but our campaign fell apart because that was kind of a deployment campaign, right?
right,
One of
right,
the guys, his wife was deployed, and he DM'd for us, but as soon as she got back, he just didn't have the time to be able to be DM anymore.
right.
So that part of like me feeling trapped, I would say it kind of went on for a few months after that until I started to work towards the divorce process. But that kind of died with it, and then me being angry and upset and just full of, I guess, hatred. When that barbarian died, that part of me kind of died too. I was able to let it out in the game, and then me being
Let it
reckless,
go.
playing my monk. When that character died, that part of me kind of died as well.
Mhm.
And and yeah, I mean, again, I look back on it, and who knows, I could be framing it in this way that just makes it seem like this, but that is how I remember it, and that is how I take it.
Mhm.
Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen for everybody,
Yeah.
if they're playing through this, but that is just looking back. That is the way how I remember it and how I frame it. And I honestly don't think, I'm not saying Dungeons and Dragons is a magical game that just it killed off my rage or killed off me being reckless, but because I think because of in the game how I saw how that rage had effects on people and how me being reckless had an effect
On
on
other people.
on other people and then myself as well.
Mhm.
There were several instances where I almost died or um, would get myself into a situation that I could possibly not get out of myself as a character. And so I think I saw that and realized what I was doing in my own life may have been more reckless than something I could get out myself. And so then I started to change. And then, shortly after he died.
but he served his purpose.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. And so for me, yeah, D&D has always been very therapeutic for me. That's why I love role play so much, because I can project myself onto my character, and you can work through things that you don't even know are there. You're just
Mhm.
doing them in game because that's what you would do, and then you realize, oh, hey, this guy may be an asshole. Wait, am I an asshole? Oh shit, I am an asshole.
Oh, jeez. What am I
Holy
doing?
crap, I'm an asshole. Oh, wait,
Yeah.
I knew that.
We're all assholes, sir.
Alright,
I'm
so
very aware that I'm an
keep
asshole.
firing, assholes.
Hey, I don't know about everybody.
It was a Spaceball.
No.
Jessica is super, super sweet, okay?
Wait, what? What I do?
Hi,
Nothing.
baby. We're
You're wonderful.
in a talk show.
That's what I'm saying. I
Sorry.
think you're wonderful.
Thank you. Why am I
Is it-
wonderful? What I do?
We're
I'm
in a
just saying
talk
you're
show,
probably the
baby.
least amount of an asshole out of this group.
Hey,
Except-
wait, hold on.
Pretty sure it's kind of
Philip
an
is
asshole
amazing.
thing that I've been like paying attention and kind of working.
Ray is
you know.
Ray.
Yeah. That's the best way to put that one.
What?
A ray
She said
of
Ray is Ray.
sunshine.
Oh, yes, that's me. Remember what I've seen, Josh. Remember what I've seen.
You've seen the moon.
I've got the thousand.
Anyway,
I've got the
moving
1,000-yard
moving
stare now.
Moving on. I'll never live it down.
Anyway, never. Not even
Never
for half a minute.
ever.
Not even for half a minute. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, this
But
has
maybe
been
No.
this has been a wonderful talk. I thank everyone very much. Thank you very much to Josh for being here and for contributing so much. Really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Too
for...
much sometimes.
Kessie's not going to be able to stop taking it there now.
No, and then Meg in the chat. She
Gummer
said the
Cove
beacons
Ray.
of the way. Gummer Cove Ray.
Yep.
Ladies
Yep.
and gentlemen,
This is
love
my
you very
legacy
much.
now.
Oh, it hurts. It hurts.
When we hit 8K, we will relate the story to everybody.
Oh.
That's 8K subscribers, right?
Yes, 8K subscribers. There you go, Josh. You'll put it out in the future there. So, thank you very much, Kessie, for being a part of this. My beautiful wife, Jessica, thank you for being here, even though you didn't feel the greatest. I love you very much. I love you. And
I got
Phil-
a 6625.
Yay!
Woo!
So we are almost down to the last 300, folks. Thank you very much to Philip for coming in and being a guest on the show. We are trying to get Philip to actually coming in and playing with us, ladies and gentlemen, but he is being stubbornly resistant.
I have certain time constraints, and
Yeah.
Ray did talk to me about coming on the Tuesday night show and playing, but yeah, just because of my time constraints, and I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to be there every week. I thought for continuity it'd be better. And,
Yeah.
I'm a big supporter of the show.
Yes,
we
and we
appreciate
love
it.
you,
It's okay. You can
Philip.
just guest star.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we've been
Just
talking
talked
about. We have-
We've
we
been
have
talking
talked
about that too, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ray and I have talked stuff.
I'm gonna work out some good villains for Philip to be.
Yay! I love it.
So
I'll come in and kill you all.
Yes!
It's gonna be a TPK completely out of my hands. I'm just not vicious enough, but hopefully Philip can take it there.
Right.
I very much can.
So some quick things. We didn't do announcements before the game, so we're gonna do them real quick. Meg's harding the TPK. So we have 2 contests going right now. We have one contest that is to get us to 7,000 followers on Facebook. Jessica just updated us with that. What would you say we're, baby? 6,000?
6625.
6,625 followers on Facebook. We've only been running this contest for about 2 weeks, and we were at 6,100 when we started it. And so we've gone from 6,100 to almost 6,700 in 2 weeks. That's freaking outstanding.
I'm very tired.
And so we're trying to get to 7K. When we get to 7K, you guys can see this scroll that's just to the left of Phil. You can see the mini pictures that are on that scroll. The many of those mini pictures are there. Is those are the minis we're going to be giving away to one person when we hit 7,000 followers. All those minis. And I've already started printing. Where'd he go? Shit. I have his arms. I've already
Tell him to come here.
I printed out. I've been printing out the grave golem. Okay, this is my fist. This is my finger. This is one arm of the grave golem. My hands are about 5 inches wide, ladies and gentlemen. My finger is only like 4 inches long. This is a massive, massive model, and it has got some incredibly insane detail. I don't know if it's gonna.
Your camera doesn't do it justice.
Yeah.
Not
It
at
does
all.
not. But it's got some incredible detail in it. If you
Gonna be
can't
so
tell,
cool.
that's a headstone that is lashed to his arm
Ugh.
as armor with rope. But anyway, that's just one of the minis we're giving away. So, in order to enter that contest, go follow us on Facebook, Dinner and a Game on Facebook. Meg has been continually posting the links in the in chat. Follow us on Facebook, and then there is a post on there for the contest. Go like us, follow us on Facebook, and then share the post for the contest. Sharing the post is your official entry into the contest. We are also doing one other contest. That contest is our Twitch contest, which is trying to get us to 200 followers on Twitch. So, what we're going to do with that one is, when we hit 200 followers, we're going to take all those followers. I've got another echo really bad.
Yeah.
I'm thinking it's actually your headset because it's been happening a little bit throughout the night. Your sound's been changing. It goes from clear to a little echoey. So it might actually be on your end.
Oh, whoa. What did you do?
I lost you all.
Ooh, fancy keyboard.
Okay, now
Push
you're.
me and see.
Let's see if that stops it.
Hey,
Hey,
that sounds a
stopped it.
lot
I
better.
think this is
So
a
far, so
this,
good.
this is a wireless headset, and I think I left off the charger too long, so the battery may be dying, which is maybe causing that. So
Gotcha.
it's plugged in now, though. All right. So the next contest is we're going to be going through and we're going to be we're trying to get to 200 followers on Twitch. So if you go to follow us on Twitch, go also follow us on Dinner and a Game on Facebook. And there is a pinned post there for our Twitch contest. We're giving away a smaller group of minis, but these minis, there's 3 minis. It's a druid, a rogue, and a fighter. The druid is an elf or half elf, the rogue is human, and the fighter is dragonborn. And these are gorgeous minis. And they comes with the 3 minis, and then it comes with a bar room scene with all the furniture and everything. And the bar room scene completes with a bar, a bartender, a bar wait person, and a mysterious stranger sitting in the corner smoking a pipe with his cowl pulled up, sitting in a chair. Wonder who that could fucking be.
3 kobolds and a
Just
coat.
like him.
3 kobolds and a colt.
Yep.
Yeah, but
Love
anyway,
it.
so we're giving that away when we hit 200 followers, and we've decided to do one other contest. Josh suggested this, and I think it's an amazing idea. So what we're going to do is, for the next month, so it is August 8th. So on September, let's say 8th is a Tuesday. So let's say on September 5th, all right, we're going to have a drawing from all the subscribers that we have on Twitch. Now remember, a base subscription on Twitch, if you have Amazon Prime and you have not used it, you have a free subscription to any Twitch channel. And if you use it on our Twitch channel, that means you pay no entry fee. Yes, Cassie? Oh, on the note.
But you have to renew it every single month.
Yes, you have to manually renew it
Every month.
But if you do it this month, and when we get to that date,
The hell?
We had a previous contest where we gave away the box sets of D&D books for our 6,000 follower drive. Well, one of those winners was actually in New Zealand. So rather than spend more than the books to ship the books to New Zealand, we actually contacted her local game store, ordered them from her through them for her, and she's going to be picking them up there. But that means, oh, heavy. We have one whole set of the D&D collector's box set to give away. Now, as you can see, this box set is the 3 core books for playing D&D. The Player's Guide, the Monstrous Manual, and the DMG plus a GM screen, all in this gorgeous sleeve. And I'm echoing again.
Mhm.
I think it's coming from Jess's computer.
Yeah.
Jess, are you using a headset?
No, she's not using a headset.
That's why it's probably just
'Cause you're
picking
so
you up because you're just so
loud, Ray.
loud.
Yeah, I'm definitely
So
loud.
loud.
But what we're gonna do is we will make the drawing on September. What did I say? The 5th, I think, which is a Saturday. So we'll do the drawing during this show. Okay.
Hey.
And so anyone who subscribes to us on Twitch for that month will be automatically entered. She locked up completely. She's coming in here now.
Oh, no.
We'll be locked up completely. We'll be entered into the contest. All you have to do is subscribe to us on Twitch, and you'll be entered in the contest. And we will draw from our subscribers, and one person will be given this box set.
She's using duplicity.
Huh?
She's
using
using
duplicity.
Is
She's using
She's
duplicity.
got one right there and one right there.
So, if
I
you want to be
invoke
entered, subscribe
duplicity.
to us here on Twitch. Remember, though, even if the reason we even are doing subscribers is because every single one of us. I mean, Jessica's in the other room, so it doesn't really count. But every single one of us is in different locations. Kessie is in Houston. Josh is in Austin. Phil is in Humble, I think.
I moved, but Houston still.
Houston still.
Yeah,
So
Houston
Phil's-
area still.
Yeah, Houston area, but because of COVID, we all play from our homes. So we all have to get everything on the same level technology-wise. And some of us don't have the best rigs anymore, and everything like that. So what we're going to be doing with the money is we're going to getting everyone up to the same level on gear, which means I need to order us all new microphones, so we're all got the same audio quality. I need to order. Some of us need to get new laptops. Kessie, we may have sent you one, but that's more mainly a patch. It's just to keep you going for right now.
It's just to give me something so I don't have to borrow my mother's computer constantly.
Yeah. So we need to order new laptops and everything like that. And so we have a lot of expenses we're going to be coming up in the future. We are opening up our online retail store. We have content that we're going to be going for that, and we're going to be putting that out now. We have shirts like this one with our D&G logo. Guys, I checked on our order for the shirts I ordered for you guys. They still haven't shipped out. I'm hoping they'll ship out by Monday, but they still say they're printing. So we have a store. It's on our website, www.dinnerandagame.net. We have all kinds of stuff in the store. We have beanies, we have hats, do we have backpacks? I'll put a backpack on the store. We have coffee mugs. Phil, they're not as big as your coffee mug, but they have our logos on them.
Pretty big. But they're pretty big.
They're pretty big. They're like 18-ounce coffee mugs. They're huge.
I need a coffee mug and I need a beanie. That's what I need.
We have beanies. We have coffee mugs. We have shirts. We have everything like that. I even designed a shirt. I just took some free artwork and I put one of my favorite my GM sayings. It basically says, when the GM asks, "Are you sure you want to do that?" That should be the most terrifying words you hear all day.
I love that.
So it basically that's on a shirt and everything like that. But we have all this stuff up there. Go ahead and if you can, order. Right now, I will tell you, because we're having this problem, all orders are running slow. I ordered this stuff for us in the beginning of July, and it was a big order, grant you, but it is now the beginning of August and it still hasn't shipped. So distribution is slow because of COVID. Manufacturing is slow because of COVID. So do give it some time. Small orders seem to be shipping fast. Evan joined us after we put in the order, and I ordered his shirt individually, and he already got it.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that when I order your shirt, Josh, and the Meg shirt, that it's going to come really quick, and hopefully about the same time everyone else's does, because I'm going to have to ship them out, because they're coming to me, and I'm going to ship them out to you. So that is going to be how we try and support the show. We would love for this to turn into a full-time business. We want to do so. We're ordering a bunch of stuff. We have a Patreon we're about to launch. I'm dealing with distributors in China, and it is very, very, very hard to get stuff from China right now. They are constantly, everything's constantly being pushed back and everything like that. One distributor, literally, I had everything arranged. I sent her the purchase order. I was waiting for the invoice. She didn't contact me for 2 weeks, and when she finally contacted me back, she said that because of the distribution and everything like that, I was going to have to double the orders we had already agreed to. And so, I went from an initial order of X amount. She was like, "No, you're going to have to double it." And I was like, "No, it's perfectly fine. I'll go through someone else." So we're trying to find someone else right now, and I'm talking to some people right now. We were hoping to launch in August. The Patreon in August, but now we're probably going to be closer to September. So, we thank everyone for everything, and thank you very much, Mad Crimes. The logo was designed by a company called Web Designs. They're a great support company. They actually are our host company for our website, and they built out our store for us. So they're a great company to work with, and we love them very much. But anyway, thank you everyone for having been here. It's way past the hour we were supposed to talk. But I think we had a really good
But
conversation.
it's fine.
Yeah, I think we had a really good conversation. I really thank everyone who stuck with us through the entire show. And this is going to be a regular feature on Saturdays. The next point of topic that I'd like to go over next week, what was it? God dang it, I just thought of it a little bit ago and it's gone again. We're going to talk about... Actually, do you guys have anything you want to talk about? Phil, you mentioned you had some things you wanted to discuss. Was there anything you wanted to talk about on the next show? Can you make it next week on Saturday?
I can if you'll have me.
Absolutely.
We got to talk about it. I don't know.
Sorry.
No.
I possibly can't.
But yes.
It possibly can't. It depends on travel regulations.
Yeah. No.
Oh, yeah. You might not even be in the States.
You might not even be
Yes.
in the country.
You know
Yes,
what?
I'm
Or the continent.
Honestly, Phil, I hope to God we don't see you next Saturday.
I really do too.
I hope you don't see me next Saturday either.
Wait,
Oh,
Phil,
I'm gonna
do you
cry
have
again.
Do you have a friendly local game store that you want to give a shout out to?
Oh, yes. Every show, because of COVID.
Oh,
every
well, I
show,
know I think I know which one he's gonna do, and
But
it's one
every
we've already
show-
done.
Every show we try and do a shout out to a local game store to try and promote it, because we know with COVID going so long that a lot of the local game stores, local retail stores are having a really hard time. And so we're trying to give shout outs to local stores and give them as much love as possible. So do you
All right,
have a
so-
local store you'd like to give a shout out to?
So which ones have already been shouted out?
Etten Games.
Yep.
What's the name of the restaurant you shouted out, Josh?
I did.
Emerald,
Huh?
huh?
Sorry, Emerald Tavern.
Emerald Tavern.
Yeah, he did Emerald Tavern. I did The Adventure Begins
The Adventure Begins.
up in Conroe.
Okay, so I had 3 that I thought of.
Oh,
Etten
Oh, and
Games.
Etten Games. Etten Games.
yeah.
Yes. Etten Games is my local one. I've been going there for since I moved back to Houston approximately 2 years ago.
And I knew that
Um,
because we've been there together. So.
Yes. We've had one of those gaggle talks outside of Etten Games.
Outside of Etten
Um,
Games.
And then in Austin, Emerald Tavern is wonderful. Thanks to Josh, I know that they're about to restock their dice. So
On Tuesday, Dice
today.
Goblins
Oh,
beware.
hey, are you a part of the Austin? Are you an honorary Austin Critters member also?
I am on the Austin Critters page.
Hey, me too. And neither one of us are in Austin. I love it.
And then so a friend of mine has
Jasmine just volunteered to be on the stream.
Yeah, she said there's Skype in Germany, so if you want to be on the stream, that she would let you do it.
I think honestly, I think like they'll be
Time
too busy getting new things.
Oh
Yeah,
man,
I-
she got up for
I'm
I can
you.
think of
I'm shocked
Five
she thinks
things.
that that's a good idea.
Jasmine may need a break, so we'll do determine. I'm waiting for hers to catch up because she's gonna look at me really dirty.
I know she's gonna be so mad at you in a second.
So, and Mad Crime said that they went to Emerald Taverns today.
Yeah.
Good.
Did they get their
so
Mad Crime? Did they get their new dice restock in?
Nope, Tuesday.
That's on Tuesday.
Oh, okay,
Mhm.
Tuesday.
Which
So,
means yay for us going next weekend.
so I guess the one
I'm
I'm
going
gonna
Tuesday.
plug.
What are you talking about?
The game shop I'm going to plug today is a friend of mine started a game shop a couple months ago, and
Ouch.
they
Mhm.
recently right at the beginning of this, like right before COVID hit, she quit her job and started doing everything for to make a game store because that's her lifelong dream.
Mm-hmm.
And she is a lifelong nerd, been playing D&D for longer than I've been alive. Well, about a month ago, they were doing construction on the building, and there was a fire.
Oh no.
And
Oh
goodness. Of course, it's most game shops are, Emerald Tavern excluded. Most game shops are in like a shopping strip.
Mhm.
So while they were doing construction, something happened and it caught fire, and construction had to be halted, and she lost a lot of money. So it is called the Tavern. It's in Spring / the Woodlands, here in northern side of Houston.
Mhm.
Don't know when she's going to have it back up and running. I've been talking to her about that, but I assume here in maybe the next few months she'll have it back up and running. So, depending on when you
Is
watch
there a
this,
GoFundMe? Where you
I
can
don't
donate to help.
I don't believe so. I can talk to her about it though, and I'll let you guys know. And
Yeah,
Well,
let us know.
Yeah, find out
please.
for the next show that you're on, and then if she has anything set up, we will put links for it up in the chat and everything like that.
Okay.
All right.
But what's the name of the shop? Just so that we
It's
can
called
all
the-
be aware. And
it's called the Tavern.
sorry,
Tavern?
the tavern. Okay.
I wonder if she has a website yet.
Looking at.
I don't believe so. Like I said, she right at the beginning of this, right at the beginning of the COVID and all the lockdown and stuff. So it's all right, Meg. I don't think she has a website yet because she was just starting it up. But I mean, she wanted to make it a gamer's paradise. Essentially, it was geared
It's called
towards
Spring Tavern.
No, Spring Tavern's
No,
actually a bar.
no, and do not. Don't say the name of that place on air. Nobody go there.
Okay.
Please.
Somebody
Don't
feels
go
passionate. Yeah, so she had just started
It's
it
an
up,
awful place.
Okay.
and so yeah, I don't think she really had a website set up yet because I know she was planning on doing like a digital store where you could order it and come pick it up in in
Mhm.
store.
Yeah, that's one of the things
but-
we've been pointing out a lot, that a lot of these stores are doing curbside pickup, they're doing mail order, they're doing
Mhm.
anything they can to survive. So it's why we're trying to plug stores and make sure that they get some mention so they can get some love.
So,
So-
but yeah, that'd be my plug is the Tavern in Spring, outside of Houston.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Bill. All right, so other than the contest, I think that's all we have for right now. I'm going to be posting up about the Twitch contest on the Facebook page. We'll be taking care of that tonight. Tomorrow night is our Strahd campaign run by the notorious Josh Runyon, and hopefully we'll all live through that
Who
long enough
did
to play
did
another
come
week.
home,
Hi, Josh.
but I don't know I don't know what he's doing right now.
Meh.
Meh.
Did he come home alone?
Yes, he came home alone.
Don't be
Ooh.
depressing. But anyway, so we are going to go ahead and say goodnight, and we are going to say that we love you all. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much for sharing your time with us. Be safe. Be careful. If you can, please, for the love of God, stay home. If you have to go out, please wear a mask. It's not just for you, it's for everyone around you, but it will help keep you safe, especially if everyone else wears one. And be safe, be careful. We want to see you back here next time. Please join us again in 1 week for dinner conversations, where the topic will be something that I'll have to post on Facebook because my brain stopped working. But we thank you all very much and hope you have a good night. And just remember one very important thing when it comes to dinner and a game. We will always save you a seat at the table. Good night, everyone.
Auf Wiedersehen.